The atmosphere in the room shifts instantly from playful teasing to a mask of grim duty. Isa becomes very serious as she describes a growing problem. Rossweisse leans forward, her voice thin with an audible tremor of anxiety. "Sister, have there been any new developments regarding Constantine?" she asks. Isa explains that Constantine's ambitions have surged after annexing 4 smaller tribes. He has recently begun aggressive provocations, testing the borders of the Wind Dragon clan's territory as his next target. Rossweisse's face tightens as she hears of his mad actions. She notes that the Wind Dragon clan is a powerhouse with significant resources, incomparable to the small tribes he previously targeted. She emphasizes that Constantine's ambition to wipe them out is an extreme, dangerous overreach. Isa continues her report, her crimson eyes focused. She reveals that the Wind Dragon Queen, wary of acting rashly, has reached out to the Red Dragon Castle for help, given that their territories are bound by a mutual defense treaty. Rossweisse listens intently and warns that if Constantine truly wages war against the Wind Dragon clan, the scale of the conflict will dwarf anything they have seen before. She cautions that if they get involved, it will be nearly impossible to extract themselves from the coming storm. Isa firmly states that she cannot stand idly by. If the Wind Dragon clan falls, her own Red Dragon lands will be the next victim of Constantine's greed. Worrying for her sister, Rossweisse decides to offer a deployment of her own soldiers to bolster the defenses. However, Isa politely declines, stating she will join forces directly with the Wind Dragon clan to apply pressure on Constantine, though she remains wary of his true strength. Leon sits quietly between them as the weight of the impending war settles over the group. He reflects on the cyclical nature of conflict. Whether human or dragon, limited resources and boundless desire inevitably lead to blood. Back when Leon was a slave of the Empire and a dragon slayer, he hardly ever thought about the meaning or purpose of war. He always mindlessly killed and followed orders. But now, everything is different.
Memories of the past have deeply unsettled Leon, throwing him off balance. He begins to feel a surge of anger because he simply wanted to do his job well, yet he became a target of the system. He wonders if his own efficiency as a cog was the very factor that offended someone and led him to such a cruel fate. Silently, he vows to himself to beat the one who deceived him to a pulp as soon as he learns their name. Rossweisse notices that Leon is unwell. She leans in closer, her large eyes filled with concern as she asks, "Darling, is everything okay?" Leon quickly masks his inner turmoil with a bright, forced smile, assuring Rossweisse that everything is fine. After the heavy conversation, the group decides to conclude their meeting and head outside. Isa bids them farewell, promising to find another opportunity to visit. Rossweisse tells her sister to take good care of their lands, maintaining a regal yet warm composure. As Isa turns to leave, she places a hand on Leon's shoulder, entrusting little Ross to him and reminding him of his promise. Leon confidently replies that she shouldn't worry and to leave everything to him. Rossweisse turns to Leon in total confusion, asking what promise she was talking about. Leon breaks into a cold sweat, stuttering that it was nothing. But Isa decides to spill the secret, saying that Leon was very worried about how he treated you, feeling he missed out on the entire first pregnancy, and vowed not to leave his beloved wife's side for a single step during the second one to be her loyal support. Isa turns to Leon with a mocking tone, saying, "Oh my God, I thought he was just bragging to me about how good he is in bed. But I can't believe you're having a second child in less than 6 months. It seems he really is very good." Leon, blushing furiously at such words, begins to cough and says, "Sister Isa, why did you say that out loud? Now Rossweisse is going to kill me."
Isa approaches Rossweisse and gives her one last piece of advice, saying that since Leon is a man of his word, she absolutely mustn't let him go. Rossweisse, blushing and flustered, manages a small, shy nod of understanding. Rossweisse suddenly clings to Leon's arm with affection. Looking up at him, she asks if he'll ever want to leave her. Leon, caught off guard and still trying to balance the heavy bags of groceries, can only stammer out a frantic series of yeses to appease her. Issa looks back one last time, puffing out her cheeks and declaring she has to leave before she is driven crazy by their nauseatingly sweet display of affection. As Issa finally walks off into the distance, waving a hand, Rossweisse instantly shifts her attention back to Leon. Her eyes narrow with intense curiosity as she demands to know if what her sister said was actually true. Leon looks away, trying to play it off and claiming he doesn't remember anything. In a desperate attempt to change the subject, he points ahead and suggests they hurry home because their daughters are waiting for them. He breaks into a run to escape the interrogation, but Rossweisse chases after him, shouting, "Hey, stop right there, you bastard! Don't you dare ignore me, I want to know the truth!" Night fell over the castle. In the bathroom, Leon was brushing his teeth, his mind wandering as he looked at his reflection. He reflected on his life here, realizing that the female dragon he lived with had not forced him to perform any grueling work or homework since that very first day, and she hadn't even used force against him. Every day, Leon had been secretly condensing his mana, funneling it into the dragon mark to store it for the future. Slowly, the power was returning to him, accumulating in secret from Rossweisse. As soon as he finished brushing his teeth, he stepped out of the bathroom. In the distance, he noticed Rossweisse on a blue sofa. She was sitting there, carrying out her work for the kingdom even at such a late hour. Leon approached her and asked why she was still awake, to which she simply replied that she would go to bed as soon as she finished with the documents. Then, deciding to catch him off guard, she asked, "Oh dear, are you really so worried about me overworking myself?" Leon coughed awkwardly, trying to hide his embarrassment. He claimed he was only worried about the baby and that she should go to bed early for her health. She smirked, saying that if he wanted to show concern, he should just say it instead of using the child as a shield. Leon's face turned red with irritation as he snapped back, asking if she really thought he cared about her. Deciding to show that he didn't care about her at all, Leon crossed his arms and declared that the only thing he truly cared about was when she would finally hand over the silver dragon throne to him. He proclaimed that eventually the entire clan would belong to him, Leon Cosmode. Rossweisse looked at him with an amused expression, simply asking, "Then what?" Leon hesitated for a moment before stating that he would finish all her work himself, so that she, a total workaholic, would have nothing left to do but retire in peace. Rossweisse let out a soft laugh, reminding him that she was still hundreds of years away from retirement, but suggested he could start helping her with the work right now. Rossweisse decided not to argue with Leon and headed to bed so that he wouldn't worry, but their bickering continued there. Leon grumbled that he would sooner crawl out of his grave 100 years later to help than do it now. Rossweisse joked that she would find a wizard to turn him into a puppet that only knew how to work. Leon smiled at her, calling her a thoughtful wife. He briefly wished her good night, but when the room turned dark, he lay there with his eyes wide open. His thoughts were occupied by his true goal. He wanted to carry out his prenatal education plan.